After weeks of back-and-forth talk with the head writer position in the company still vacated, Terry Taylor not only didn't sign the no-compete contract offered to every employee as the new policy, but notified McMahon on his decision to jump back last Wednesday, signing with WCW a day later in a producer role. WCW started with a Seed Outsiders Bret and Goldberg confrontation to set up multiple matches for tonight, with the main event being a four-way ladder match for the US belt, along with Goldberg vs Sting in a Havoc rematch promoted to start at the top of the hour, with the tournament continues heading into the Mayhem pay-per-view, as well as setting up Goldberg vs Seed in an I Quit match for the show. With the Russo-Ferrara regime now almost a month in, the move, which got unprecedented media coverage for the position in the industry, continued this week in probably the highest profile piece yet, with Russo's jump being covered in a full-page story on Entertainment Weekly, talking about Russo's role in the WWF's turnaround over the last 2 years in addition to the increase in ratings for WCW since taking over the writing of the product, with Russo mentioning the workload as a reason for leaving in addition to the big challenge of turning WCW around, with Russo also offered by Fox Network to write a TV series on the behind-the-scenes process of the wrestling business. Now 4 shows into the job, Russo and Ferrara took things up a notch on November 8 with the formatting of the show, with the program moving at rapid pace and often having multiple segments per quarter, with several show-long angles happening throughout, with David Flair stalking Kimberly, Luger turning on Sting and Goldberg taking out Seed and the Outsiders. Seconds after 9, with the Goldberg-Sting match promoted to start, an unknown figure revealed to be Dustin Rhodes was floating to the ring in the previously planned 7 character, coming just a few days after Father Dusty left the company, with Dustin set to play off the news in the segment, cutting a work-shoot promo on management, saying that he left the WWF because of these gimmicks and that Goldust nearly ruined his career. Dustin talked about Dusty no longer being in the company after 25 years of building it, telling the powers that be in TNT that he's done with gimmicks and they will have to deal with Dustin Rhodes from now on. Goldberg and Sting was next in a short match, with Goldberg going over after Luger's interference, with WCW opening with a 3.2 rating head-to-head. Steve Austin opened Raw calling out Vince after hitting him with the belt on Thursday, teasing a Vince heel turn heading into Survivor Series. Vince said that it was an accident, with Austin not convinced, with McMahon to prove it putting himself as the special guest referee in the Survivor Series main event. In the meantime, 6 days from the pay-per-view, Austin was taken off all his house show appearances during the week, with the company announcing an unknown injury as the reason in the buildings, along with him not doing anything physical on both Raw and SmackDown, leading to speculation on his condition and the severity of the injury going forward. Rock came out to question Vince and hype the match, including Vince having microphone problems with Austin throwing them up the entrance ramp. After the McMahon parody last week, Nash continued as Scott Hall's promoter, this time as the Grand Wizard, with the Luger and Flair angles continuing along with Bagwell advancing against Vampiro. One of the most talked about stories of the week saw Wal-Mart stores across the country removing Al Snow's action figure from the shelves, after getting some clueless complaints on the doll promoting violence against women due to the separated head figure coming with it. The company responded saying that it was Snow's TV gimmick and has nothing to do with the complaints, along with mocking and turning it into an angle on Raw with the Outlaws accusing Snow of the abuse before their tag match, with King and JR burying Wal-Mart throughout the show, while mentioning that the Snow's doll sales skyrocketed since the decision with all the talk around it during the week. Mankind and Snow vs Billy Gunn and Road Dogg went 4 minutes with the Outlaws winning the tag belts. WCW jumped over 500,000 viewers back to a 3.2 rating for Bret Hart vs Perry Saturn, going 5 minutes with Bret going over to advance to the semi-finals next week, with him as a leading contender for winning the belt, with the show taking place in Toronto's Air Canada Centre in front of what is expected to be a hot hometown crowd. Nash and Hall were backstage with Nash reading a card that said 316. Saying that it was the number of times Austin and Undertaker worked on pay-per-view. A good guess for the line can be seen with Russo repeatedly mentioning in interviews since leaving the company that Austin was being difficult to work with, and only wanting to work with a select few performers on the roster. Another key note from Russo's Entertainment Weekly interview was him answering a question on the future of Hogan and Flair in the company, saying that there's a role for them but it's not in the main event. In addition to the Nitro's change back to 2 hours was all but confirmed, with Russo pushing it to be from 9 to 11 head-up with Raw, along with Thunder moving nights to Wednesday after going head-up with SmackDown in the last 2 months. After setting up the segment last week, the Test and Stephanie wedding ceremony segment was officially announced for November 29 from the LA Staples Center, targeting a huge number for the show with 3 weeks to hype it. Raw had a 10-bell salute after the announcement that Big Show's father has passed away, leading to Bossman interrupting it and reading a card with a vicious tribute, putting strong heat to see Show's response heading into Sunday, with the company also setting up an angle announcing that footage from the funeral will be shown on SmackDown. Kurt Angle's debut match was officially announced in 6 days, while also mentioning the intensity, integrity, intelligence, saying for the first time. WCW started the third hour with Luger vs Seat, ending up with Goldberg spearing both, along with a Bigelow vs Knobbs hardcore match. Some talked about issues predicted even before the first show of the new regime started to surface with Turner's standards and practices, as despite bumping the show rating to TV 14, reportedly having issues with aspects of the product, with several things mentioned being the Outsiders vs Strippers comedy match on October 25. The Lenny and Lodi characters, Dustin Rhodes window skits, as well as Seat and Flair both doing major blade jobs on the Havoc pay-per-view. With Russo and Ferrara having to work around the restrictions and going over the TV scripts with network representatives before going on the air. Raw jumped big at the top of the hour for the Rock vs X-Pac match, gaining over 1.3 million viewers to peak the night with a 6.1 rating. The company showed Rock's photo shoot with him set to feature in People's Magazine, in addition to officially announcing his autobiography set to be released in January, coming after Foley's book climbed to number 2 in the bestsellers charts during the week. Rock and X-Pac went 6 minutes with Rock going over, bringing out DX for the post-match with Vince setting up Hunter vs. Test for the title tonight, ending up with Rock laying him out to close the quarter.
Scott Hall and Grand Wizard promoter Nash came out for Hall's quarter-final match, bumping WCW around 800,000 viewers back to a 3 rating, going 6 minutes with Lash LaRue. Along with the post-match segment with Goldberg revealed as one of the security to spear them both again. With all 4 of both companies' main TV programs going head-to-head on Mondays and Thursdays, new competition started on which night will become the most watched night of the week. With strong competition on Mondays in the fall season, Thursday saw SmackDown and Thunder drawing a combined audience of over 10 million viewers, equaling Monday's viewership for the week, with SmackDown remaining at record levels drawing over 7 million of the viewers. This Thursday is set to go even further with the company announcing a major crossover appearance for the show with Arnold Schwarzenegger set to appear. With the show being the final build before the pay-per-view along with the Arnold appearance, SmackDown is expected to break all records in 3 days. Raw jumped over 700,000 viewers between 10:30 to 45 with Bossman vs. Kane and the Hollies vs. Too Cool both going 3 minutes, along with the Acolytes in the local bar in State College, Pennsylvania, while WCW had Curt Hennig vs. Jeff Jarrett going 5 minutes with Jarrett advancing after Creative Control's interference and Hennig staying in business. WCW's final quarter featuring Kimberly calling out David Flair after the show-long build, ending up with him smashing her car, along with a 4-way ladder match, picked up over 900,000 viewers to WCW's peak of the night 3.3 rating. Nash was revealed as the special referee taking the belt off Bret with Hall going over to win the title, with WCW overall doing a 3.3 rating. The Acolytes had another great bar brawl, this time with 2 people sitting at a close table saying how they're not legit, leading to them bumping them all over the place while smashing the bar, with their last brawl segment reportedly doing around $6,000 in damages to the place. Raw's Triple H vs. Test main event built as a Montreal '97 scenario with Vince out as the special guest timekeeper and Shane as special referee, dropped to a 5 rating for the first half of the match, the lowest final quarter rating in almost a year, with a direct turnover of viewers against the Flair-Page segment in the Big Star Power 4-way match as Nitro picked up around 900,000 viewers while Raw dropped around the same number. WCW surprisingly didn't go over this week and ended exactly at 11, giving Raw almost 7 minutes unopposed in the overrun for the second half of the main event, picking up almost half of the WCW audience to a 6.7 rating, ending up with Test, Vince and Shane all running backstage after Road Dogg showed them kidnapping Stephanie, ending in a cliffhanger to head into the big SmackDown on Thursday for the Survivor Series go-home show.